What's good, YouTube? Naturally Unprofessional back with another video. This video is by Operation Black Steel, The White Shadow. Let's get into it. Oh my god, I gotta stop doing that shit.
Black people have always been at the forefront of pop culture, whether it be the music, the dances, or even the comedy. So I guess niggas are just really funny to laugh at. And the issue is rarely that people are laughing, that they're entertained. It's why people...
Last time was Nas, this time it's Kendrick. You know what I'm saying?
Are entertained. Why do they find it funny? Do they really get it? Or are they just laughing at us? That, my friends, is the White Shadow. And it's a figure that plays a bigger role in black entertainment than you might think.
It's called Operation Black Steel.
We're
calling it Operation Black Steel. I like that name. We're not changing it.
The White Shadow isn't necessarily the official name for something like this. Fans of the Boondocks will know it's the name that Huey gave a secret government agent that follows him around. So does that mean I'm saying that black entertainers are scared of white government agent stalkers? Maybe, but I mean, that's not the point. The way I see it, the White Shadow is simply white people. The white people that watch us, watch our shows, listen to our music. Even this series that, I'm making right now, it has a white following. You can't control that, and neither can I. But what's wrong with white people watching us? The Boondocks itself ran on Adult Swim, a network known for its overwhelming white audience. The Chappelle Show had a large following of white people. Chris Rock, with Kevin Hart. This isn't anything new. So why is it a big deal to some of us? The entertainers and even the audience. It comes down to this. What do they take from it? When Chris Rock goes on stage and discusses the difference between black people and niggers, and white people laugh, what do they find funny? When Dave Chappelle makes a skit about reparations and how black people would spend that money, why is that funny? In the life of
That's crazy. If you actually think about that question, why do they laugh? Like, what do you get out of it? Because obviously you don't understand or get what I get out of it. Well, no, I can say obviously because you probably do, but like, why do you think that's funny? Same thing with the respirations or the Dave Chappelle. Like, how's that funny to you? That we getting respirations since it has both people around. I don't see how y'all got the humor in that. That's a fucking deep ass question, dog. That question gonna have my fucking head hurting, man.
Almost every black person, there exists some form of white shadow. They're out here watching us act like fools and, they're just laughing.
Man. Oh, that brother of yours is a hoot. And your grandfather? Those two need their own sitcom.
Leave me alone.
And some of us haven't even...
It's that expression, laughing with us or laughing at us. You laughing because we showing what you already think about us, and you find the humor in that. Don't fucking laugh at me, bro.
Realize that. So oblivious, yet the shadow is in plain sight. It's not trying to hide. And to me, that's why I call the White Shadow. It's in plain sight. It's not trying to hide. And mainly because it doesn't need to. They watch, they form opinions, but to what extent are they informed? To what extent do they understand what we're trying to say? This isn't as simple as white people are laughing at us. It's also about what they think when they see us do things like this. This might be, this one might be a hard pill to swallow, but yeah, a lot of black entertainment is made for black people. It's mad, isn't it? And because black people are at the forefront of pop culture, white people are probably going to see it too. It's unavoidable. And that isn't inherently a bad thing. But to some entertainers and even some consumers, there's a level of unease knowing that. The focus of this video is going to be on two black figures. Aaron McGruder, the creator of the Boondocks, and Dave Chappelle, famous stand-up comedian known for the Chappelle Show. This video isn't comparing their shows, because I think they both make great stuff, and I'd recommend them both to my audience. What I'm really trying to hone in on here is this, this mindset and approach to their work, and the idea of how this quote-unquote white shadow affects them. Let's start with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has been doing stand-up comedy for a long time, like a really long time. He's a legend in the industry, and it doesn't really surprise me that he had issues dealing.
Another Kendrick, dog. Smoke good, eat good, live good. What you know about it, man? I like this nigga beats in the background. Folks with him heavy.
With this, later on in his career. I'm not going to bother repeating the story of how the Chappelle Show ended, but to put it in a nutshell, Dave Chappelle was offered $50 million to make 2 seasons. That was an easy joke to make. I'm sorry. And after doing this black pixie joke and seeing a white man laughing too hard at his joke, it put the Barry in his back to pack his bags and basically leave. When he laughed, it made me feel uncomfortable, says Dave Chappelle. As a matter of fact, it was the last thing I shot before I told myself I gotta take fucking time out after this. Because my head almost exploded. Now, I'm not saying that Dave Chappelle left solely because he saw white people were laughing at him. That, in part, has to do with Hollywood essentially pimping him out. But it does put into perspective this idea of the white shadow and how it's technically intrinsically tied to these industries too. This notion that the whiter you are and act, that's the only way you're gonna make it.
Here at Dave, we really liked the show, but the pilot episode was about Megan Boot on stage at the Apollo. They go, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, there's not really any white people in it. So it was about the Apollo. It's not really white. Well, we were thinking about the girl on the show. We didn't think she was that funny, not that good looking. Then we should recast her, maybe. And they started using terms like universal appeal. Basically saying they want me to recast the girl with a white woman.
This isn't a foreign concept. This isn't even an outlier. This is just a thing. And this mindset is indoctrinated into the minds of people. I feel like something a lot of white people struggle to come to terms with is the fact that just because they weren't there for the racism and discrimination that founded the world we live in today doesn't mean it didn't leave them advantaged. And by
spaceships? Kanye?
By extension, doesn't mean it didn't leave black people at a significant disadvantage. And the fact that people of color are made to believe this, that they have to adhere to this whitened standard, that the fact that the industry pushes this narrative of universal appeal, the fact that black people still to this day go, shh, white people are watching, in fear. The fact that niggas are forced to dance to a white man's monopolized game and play ignorant to the system that directly serves to put them at the bottom, that is the power of the white shadow in the lives of black people. Entertainers, workers, children, whatever you want to call it, you are given a choice. Anna Magruder worded it like this early in his career. As a black kid moving in the suburbs, you're given two choices. Embrace your blackness or blend in with the white kids. And the same applies to the business of entertainment. The only difference is choosing to embrace your blackness means you probably won't make it. Aaron Strip was rejected several times for this very reason. I mean, also because it was really angry, but we gotta talk about it. My point is, a lot of these corporations and businesses are owned by rich white people. They don't care about your minority representation or your artistic integrity. Do you want to make it or not? They'll use you like a prostitute, compromise your vision, and when it all goes to hell, they'll try to convince you and everybody else that it was your fault for not listening. That is what happened to Dave Chappelle.
So I don't think I can do this, and I quit. On the cover of Variety, Chappelle pulls the race card. The race card. And I get...
That's a sick thing. And that's... thinking about that, it ain't no quinky dink, bro. That all this toxic stuff didn't come from the industry. It's like this cancel culture. That was like cancel culture right there. Because he refused to do something. Now they put him on a thing that he was on drugs, that he was crazy. He just turned down $50 million because of such and such mental health, and he needed to be in an asylum and everything. Around the time when Dave Chappelle did that, I was a kid, so So my mom was a big Dave Chappelle fan, and we had all his CDs. I mean, all the episodes on CDs, all the seasons, and everything. And when he did that, that was crazy. At that time, like people were like, nigga, what? You walking away for this? Like, nigga, I did this for that and this, that. And he just stayed, like he kept his morals. And he got away from the game. And it's kind of crazy that when he took the time for himself, he got to be X, Y, and Z. And that's not even the whole thing. I mean, like, what they said was all lies. But because they was flooding the news with it, people started to believe it. And it's like now, like cancel culture, somebody don't do something or somebody say something wrong to the LGBTQ or to the Black Lives Movement or towards the government, and it's not what somebody else agrees on, you getting canceled. They go hate you, and then one person add on, people's followers, the other person go add on with it. And God forbid that somebody try to help you out, because somebody try to help you out, they just go get run over too. Unless it's a big, famous person that's trying to help you out with that. But that shit is nasty, man. This fucking world, man.
Calls from Newsweek, 60 Minutes. Everybody, we want your story.
That's not me saying that having a white audience is to blame for that. I'm saying that audience had an effect on what executives tried to push onto him, and Chappelle's own comfortability with doing the show. Because as black people, we have no idea. Are they laughing with us or are they laughing at us? Choosing to embrace your blackness in the form of satirical comedy is noble. But when dealing with satirizing stereotypes and making fun of them, you can't expect everyone to get it. There will be black people that think you're encouraging the narrative that black people act this way. And even more white people laughing for the wrong reasons. You can't win. Because at that point, you're just a field nigga dancing for white people. And that's nothing no black man wants.
Finish, because I have a story to tell you.
So then when I'm on the set and we're finally taping a sketch, somebody on the set that was white laughed in such a way. I know the difference of people laughing with me and people laughing at me. And it was the first time I'd ever gotten a laugh that I was uncomfortable with. Not just uncomfortable, but like, should I fire this person?
So really putting it simply, the white shadow is almost this paranoia of what white people think when they see us. And I'm pretty sure that's not what Aaron intended, but that's how I understand the concept. Speaking of Aaron, let's actually get to him and how he views this whole dilemma. Alright, cool. You should go without saying that Aaron McGruder was certainly more fixated on this idea of embracing his blackness. Something I find fascinating about the early years of the Boondocks comic strip was the fact that an overwhelming majority of Aaron's audience were old white people. But according to him, he still wrote the strip for black people.
I still find that my strip reaches its audience. Its audience is black people. It was written for them. And it was written for them because black people have traditionally been at the forefront of the world's popular culture. So if you do something that is from the heart and for black people, then everybody else in the world will gradually follow along and also get into that art as they've done with, hip hop, rock and roll, jazz, what have you.
And as someone who has read the script several times, and I mean all of them, it's kind of crazy, it shows. And on a surface level, that's no different from Dave Chappelle. But the biggest difference is, Aaron didn't care what white people thought of his show. He was actually asked about the Dave Chappelle interview with Newsweek in 2 separate interviews, so I'ma just get right to it. Dave and I talk regularly. I think I have a better compass, so I don't think it will bother me as much that white Americans are laughing at some of the stuff that blacks are embarrassed by. I think we as black people spend way too much time worrying about what white people think of us. I don't give a fuck what white people think.
Facts.
That last line is quite bold and also kind of yikes. I'm generally pretty mixed on Aaron's outlook on this, but I'm gonna keep going. That's a bit of a simplification of Chappelle's situation. But with satire, you have people that get it and can look around at the world critically, and people that don't get it. And I don't think that's a function of race, age, or education. For the people who don't get it, the only difference is how they misunderstand it. But there are old people, young people, black people, and white people who understand the points we're making with the show. If you're the type of person to pick it up, you get it. I'm comfortable with that. I understand that you can't do a show like this and have everybody get it. Something I'm mixed on in regards to Aaron's stance is specifically the level of responsibility one takes as a black creative in this field. The best way I can word it is that Aaron's stance feels realistic but negligent, while Dave Chappelle's outlook feels idealistic but paranoid. I ain't even dissing them, so give me 1 second. Dave Chappelle's fear was reinforcing negative stereotypes and what white people thought of them. He felt like he was in a position where he had the power to affect people, so he felt personally responsible. Meanwhile, Aaron understands that he can't make everyone happy, and not everyone is going to get what his show is all about. A middle ground between both these mindsets is what's needed. And understanding that you can't expect everyone to understand your message, and the level of responsibility with dealing with the stuff that we create. We can't pretend like we can control the way people receive our material, just like we can't pretend it doesn't matter what white people think of it. It goes both ways, and it's why our relationship with the white shadow is so interesting. You have to both acknowledge it and ignore it. In the real, Huey is forced to confront this idea of a white shadow, and ends the episode rejecting its existence, contemplating by the end whether it was real or an illusion he created for himself.
And I've decided that you're a figment of my overactive imagination.
Now who's hiding from reality?
Now this all sounds really conspiratorial and personal, but something I know a lot of people might be asking is, if the white shadow is just paranoia, then why does it matter? The only person stopping you from doing you is you. It shouldn't matter if white people are watching. And that's a half-truth. Because it ignores what the industry chooses to push. Think Dave Chappelle and how he was controlled.
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right time.
According to Chappelle, they fly me out for a creative meeting in a room full of white people, and then they proceed to tell me why we need more white people on the show so we can have more universal appeal. Chappelle continued, "This network built itself on black viewers, and what they're saying is white people are narcissistic. They don't want to watch black people, they want to watch themselves. It tells every black artist that no matter what you do, you need whites to succeed." He eventually left and they told the world that he was on drugs, that, that he was crazy. That's the narrative that they chose to push. And even though it wasn't true, it was real. Dan Brown once said, "History is told by the winners." They got their money. They're happy. It doesn't matter that Dave wanted to see his family or felt uncomfortable with white people laughing at him. He didn't want to push negative stereotypes.
Completely different.
Yeah.
They're concerned.
Yeah.
I don't want black people to be disappointed in me for putting that out there. This is the thing. I'm a comedian. Now, nobody watches a comedian to see how socially responsible they're going to be.
Facts.
A white shadow made him leave $50 million. It's this expectation that, you're representing the black community, that this idea of conformity and losing yourself or becoming a house nigga, all this stuff. Is it paranoia? Yeah, but not only does that belittle what the industry chooses to push, but also this conflicting duality of how do I be entertaining but stick to my moral code. My point is, the white shadow is complicated. When I say you have to acknowledge it and ignore it, I mean it in the sense that you have to understand that it's there and understand that there's a limit to what you can do, but also do what you can.
That's what I was saying. I think it was the last video. You got to understand the system. You got to move around the system. Basically, you got to know the enemy to beat the enemy. You refuse to understand what they're doing and refuse to get the history of what they've been doing. You're not going to understand how to move now. You got to understand what they was doing then and how that translates to now, because history is nothing but progression. For the worse or for the better, but it's progression. And you got to see what they was doing then, how that progressed into now, what we was doing then, and how that progressed into now, and then take those two and figure out something to progress in the future, hopefully for the better. But when you don't try to do, you just progressively going down, and you just go be institutionalized, and you go past that curse down generations until one that's smart enough to be like, fuck this shit, I don't want this because it don't feel right.
You did a good thing today. You saved a man's life. They don't win until you give up. They don't win until you stop fighting.
You can't fight the future. Don't waste your life trying. Granddad, what do you do when you can't do nothing, but there's nothing you can do?
You do what you can.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Do what you can.
What will be, but do what you can anyway. That's not me saying give up, niggas. They're not gonna change.
Smallest platforms, it don't matter. You can have one view, you can have 1 million views, you can have 10 million views. You do what you believe in your heart of heart, what's right, and then just do it. Like, I have literally no viewers right now. The only people that subscribe is people that's close to me. And yet, I still will come on here and watch stuff like this. It's not because I want to push agenda. No, it's because it's facts. This is the stuff that I like. It got to be factual. It got to be true. And there's a lot of truth in this. And I like how he breaks stuff down. He breaks stuff down for people to understand if they didn't catch it. Because, people watch the Boondocks and just laugh. But the Boondocks is actually a fucking phenomenal show. Like, amazing. How he wrote it, the characters, what they mean into black society and these type of black people. That's brilliant writing. And this part is what he's saying. He grew up in the suburbs. He could either been blend in with the white, or he could have stuck to himself and be who he naturally feel that he should be. Gain knowledge. Wrote this comics. Pretty sure he had backlash. Pretty sure he went through a lot of racism. But he just kept on doing it. Do what you can do. That's what he liked to do. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he could do. Did it. One of the greatest shows that ever hit air. Just do what you can do. And that way, when you gone after this, and you know your kids here, grandkids, yada yada, they know what you did, and that can progress down to generations for, like I say, either good or bad, you know. But just do what you can do. That's perfect advice, man.
That's me saying what's going to happen is going to happen.
Simple.
Just do your part the best way you can. And,
Simple.
you know, it might be cynical, it might be offensive, it might be angry, and, you know, it might even be called crazy. But if it's honest, sincere, and for the people, then I think people will appreciate it. The White Shadow is both an illusion created by ourselves and the industry. The industry with this
real shit. Anybody can gravitate to real shit. If it's authentic, no gimmicks, no bullshit. They know that's how you really feel, and you could tell that's how somebody really feel by their manner, how they approaching it. You might not agree with it, but you can respect it. It might not be for you. You might watch it one time, leave that person alone. But it might be other people that watch it, understands where you're coming from, and agrees with it. You're not going to please everybody. Same thing with the Boondocks. You're not going to please every black person, even though it's made for black people. You're not going to please every black person. You're going to please some white people, but you're not going to please all the white people. You're going to please who gets it and who doesn't. Or who understands it and choose not to. I mean, who understand it and it just doesn't fit them. Like, just be you, my nigga, and do what you can do.
universal appeal ideal that needs to be broken. But also in the individuals who let that hinder their creative expression, you know, stop them from living their lives. It's a false reality. You're probably not going to change the industry. You're probably not going to have an all-black audience. You're probably not going to avoid white people getting the wrong idea. And you're probably not going to avoid black people getting the wrong idea. Just because you have a platform doesn't mean the fate of the black community is resting in your hands. But at the same time, don't underestimate the impact that a platform can have. It's all about balance. Be responsible, but be realistic. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think as black people, it's something we need to collectively overcome. You know, the white shadow. Acknowledge it and ignore it. Because nothing controls people better than fear. So take control, be responsible, and do only what you can. Nothing more.
That's a Machiavelli quote too. Better to be feared than loved if you cannot have both. That's true facts. That's what our government does. They control us by fear.
And nothing less. And if it's honest and sincere, then regardless of how many white or black people misunderstand what you do and create, you'll have done your part. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Operation Black Steel.
Well, that's it for this video, man. Hope y'all like it, man. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next one.